Hi everyone, and welcome to my next review of an Outlander episode. Today we're talking about Season 5, Episode 6, Better to Marry Than Burn. Oh boy, this episode made me very happy as a book lover and also as a show watcher because some of the acting in this episode was some of the best I've seen, specifically Maria Doyle Kennedy. Holy crap. As well as, of course, the wonderful, I need to look up his name, I'll put it right here, the guy who played Phillip Wylie. Oh my god, he was amazing. Phillip Wylie is hard to picture in my head as a book lover, and holy crap, I thought that guy was amazing. So let's get down to business here. If this is the first video of mine you're finding, that'd be really funny, but that happens all the time on YouTube. I am generally a booktuber, so I review different books and talk about them, and Outlander is one of my favorite books. And so earlier this year, I made a discerning effort that I was going to do reactions and recaps to all the episodes of Season 5, but I also have season reviews for the past 4 seasons, as well as book reviews for all of the books leading up through A Breath of Snow and Ashes. That review actually comes out this week, so you can go ahead and look up my Outlander playlist if you want to see more. But the way that I structure these is I'm going to kind of go over a arc of the story we got in this episode, talk about the things I liked and didn't like, and then I do a little bit of a comparison between how it holds up to the book, which has been a little rough off and on this season, but this one was really good. In this episode, we have kind of 3 storylines going on, which is kind of how it's been for the past couple, which is kind of nice. We have a storyline happening with Bree and Roger back on the ridge. We have a storyline, and then we have 2 storylines happening at Jocasta's wedding at River Run. We have Jamie and Claire trying to discover more about Stephen Bonnet and trying to deal with what is going to happen next for Jamie's militia, and how much deeper is he going to be getting into the British side of the revolution. And then we have Jocasta getting married to Duncan Ennis, and we have Murtagh coming to make a last plea for her. So those are what the 3 storylines are. Let's start off with the Bree and Roger one, because I can wrap that one up the quickest. That one was a really bunch of brief scenes, but it was basically the Locust Plague that comes. And this is kind of a chance for Roger to start earning some cred on the ridge, because he's left in charge when Jamie leaves. And, you know, that is kind of a hard position for Roger to be in. And locusts, huge grasshoppers, start coming through, and their crops are still, you know, a month away from being ready. And so they're really scared about it. And what they want to do is, the locusts are only at one farm right now, so they basically want to sacrifice that farm and burn that field to kill the locusts there. Now, Roger knows that this plague of locusts, well, you know, this swarm of them that's coming, is not just going to sit on one person's field. And it's very dangerous to try to just burn a whole field. They could end up burning down the forest or burning down people's homes. And so Roger gets to use his, you know, smart brain to come up with a plan to do kind of like staggered smoke areas that will shoo the smoke but not burn everything down. So him and Bree kind of spearhead that, and it all ends up working out just fine. And we see that in a bunch of clips. And I really like this. This is something that happens in the book. It's not something that is purely Roger's idea. In fact, again, we'll get deeper into this when I do the comparisons of everything. But Roger and Bree do go to River Run for the wedding. But apparently we're making it seem like Roger's hiding, which, you know, or trying to stick it to Jocasta. So much fun. And yeah, but that's fine. We see that in a bunch of little scenes. It was really good. It was good to see Roger have some success. because he was in such a fragile state with everyone after the debacle at Brownsville. And the only thing, and this having nothing to do with comparison-wise, the only thing I didn't really like about this is that when he comes up with the idea, it's almost like, I literally wrote, it's like they go, egad, this is what we're gonna do. And it literally had like a music swelling moment, and I just didn't like how almost comical it was. Like, it was one of those that like, oh, we could do this, and then we could do this. And it was just so like over the top that I was like, oh my gosh, can you be a little more chill about figuring this out instead of acting like you're in a comedy or something like that? It was kind of frustrating. So, okay, next let's talk about the Jocasta and Murtaugh stuff, because this has been, you guys know, the biggest criticism that I've had about the show so far is their storyline they've done with this. In this particular episode, even though almost everything shared isn't how it goes in the book, I found these scenes extremely powerful, and there's enough truth in how Jocasta feels about things that I totally bought it. And I like how they kind of wrapped up their relationship together in this episode. So even though we'll still have Murtaugh causing the issues that he's causing to this storyline, we've at least wrapped up the part with Jocasta that was never going to have a future anyway. So the way this episode started, its cold open, was Jocasta and Hector escaping Scotland. And in the book, this is a tragic story, and it's tragic to see it. And the actress, it's so good. Oh, it was so beautiful and painful to see, you know, Jocasta had sight, and they're trying to escape with their youngest daughter, and her husband's pretending to be British, not Scottish, and then they find the gold, and their daughter ends up being shot and killed, and they leave. So Jocasta has carried a lot of guilt that she had to leave her daughter dead with strangers and not give her a proper burial or take care of her, and that like the bones of her daughter are still left there, and that same night her older two daughters, who were both married, their houses burned down and they died as well. And just this like guilt that she's carried for how that all went down. And she actually believes that her blindness is like her punishment for what happened to her children. And when Murtaugh comes to make his heroic, you know, last claim for her and say that he loves her and asks her to wait for him, which is ridiculous, because it's not from a heart perspective, but it's ridiculous from a, you know, she's still a woman in this time, and the decision she made, like, this wouldn't just be acceptable for her to be waiting for Murtaugh. He's a criminal, and they can't, like, be together. It could be a long time before they could be together. And she makes a case for this to him, saying, I loved a man who loved a cause. And, ooh, I wrote it down. Sorry. I can be a good girl and actually read what it says. She says, like, there'll always be another cause next. I didn't write the exact thing. But what I wrote in my notes is it reminded me of what Claire said when she had to go back to the 1940s after losing Jamie. She said, there's always another fucking war. And I really feel like that's what Jocasta was saying, except in this case, she's saying, like, you're always going to have a cause. And Murtaugh's trying to say, but you can be my cause. And she's like, no, I can't, because I was married to a man like you before. And I promised myself I wouldn't do that. And, you know, all of her children are lost, and she just can't, like, risk that again, even though they probably won't have kids or anything. She just can't put herself in that position for love again, to love someone whose ambitions are going to destroy him, basically. And it just hurt really bad. And the way that Maria, I think it's Maria Doyle Kennedy is her name, when she's telling him that story, listening to her accent as she says it, Murtaugh just standing behind her, stroking her hair, and what can he like say to it? Because it's true. Like, he's a passionate man and he's always going to be fighting for that. And there's a strange parallel in it too, because it's almost like we see that kind of relationship in Jamie and Claire in a way. But the difference is that they will always fight it together. And Jocasta is just much more cynical and has like been through a lot more in that aspect of she lost everything to it. And I mean, Claire and Jamie, you also could say they did to Culloden. And that's why it's so risky for them to be taking on this revolution as well, because they've lost so much to those kind of fights before, but they have the foreknowledge of, we're going to win. We just need to find out how to survive instead of, this is doomed. Can we stop it? What can we do? And it's kind of funny because, well, it's not funny. It's a gallows humor, is right now Jamie's stuck on the side that's going to lose again. And we need to get him off of that one. And, you know, we did that before and it didn't work. But this time we have a lot more tools at our disposal in the form of, they know so many more details about this, but you still don't know the stuff that's happening in the backcountry. Like, there wasn't things read about it, or maybe Bree didn't read about it. And then what do, you know? So anyway, for this not being a part of the book, the part of hearing Jocasta's story is hearing about the gold, knowing that, I love how she says that where she lives, like, she says her daughter's bones are dust laying in the road where she left them. And where she lives now, in a palace, is built by the gold that she betrayed her for. It's just, holy crap, guys. If you weren't crying, you don't have a soul. I was bawling my eyes out because that is true. And that is a feeling that book Jocasta has. She's just not sharing it with Myrta in the book. But I'm glad that they kind of like wrapped up this like tryst that they were having, this love that they were having. And I didn't even mention him. We meet Duncan Ennis. They really have kind of a fragile guy playing him. I hope we get to see more of him. I don't know how much of the storyline with him that they're gonna do in this book or later books. We haven't even met Duncan till today, and that was something that like had bothered me with when they brought Myrta in, because Myrta was kind of you know, doing a lot of those actions that Duncan Ennis does. And Duncan has actually been in our story since the 4th book, and he's a good friend of Jamie, and that's why Jamie really approves of this like marriage that's gonna happen. So anyway, we meet him. I hope we see more of him. I kind of feel bad that he's put off to the side a little bit, but whatever. So then let's talk about the Jamie and Claire stuff that's happening before we get into more details about what worked and what didn't. So in this, Jamie and Claire are at the wedding today. They are interacting with Lord Tryon and his wife seems very nice. And we get to see Lord John for a hot minute. I love that they've taken the reasoning that anytime there's a party, LJG will be there, even though like he not at all these parties, but it's like, hey, it's a party where something's happening with people. He should be there. Let's have him be there. And I'm totally here for it. No complaints. Give me LJG all day long. I'm here for it. He's so cute. I'll always have him be there. So we get to meet Phillip Wylie, and he decided that he wants Claire, and he wants her in a big way, and he wants to give her the big D, and he doesn't care that she's married, or that she's married to a super hot, hunky Scotsman who could literally pop him like a pimple, rip him apart like a stupid birthmark. I love the little details of this entire storyline. This is stuff straight from the book. It is freaking amazing. The actor who's playing him, like I said, he was amazing. From the first words out of his mouth, I was laughing out loud. I wrote, oh boy, here we go. I love this idiot. holy crap, the face paint. I love this actor. I was just writing all these things down because he just gave me so much joy. And I love when an actor comes in and they know they got this role that everyone's going to hate them, but they're like, I am going to chew the crap out of this scene. And that is what this actor did. And I loved it so much. It gave me so much joy. He did such a great job. And like when Jamie like pushes him into the poop pile, it just made me so happy. So anyway, so he comes up and he's like offering Claire things, and she ends up hearing him mention that he has Irish businessmen. And anytime we hear Irish businessmen, we're supposed to go zing. This means Stephen Bonnet. It'd be really funny if there was another associate that was doing all of this, but it's not. It's Stephen Bonnet. And so Claire decides to play along a little bit because she wants to see if we can get a meeting set up between Jamie as Alexander Malcolm and Stephen Bonnet to see if he will smuggle his whiskey. And however, this goes awry when Wiley goes to show Claire his horse, Lucas, and he tries to go in for the kill. And Claire's like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, Jamie comes in and gets all like macho man and like, ooh, it just does tingly things to me, but it messes up this business deal. And then Phillip says that Claire was begging for it, and Jamie's like, yeah, right. Like, do you see this? Do you see this hunky Scotsman here? My wife ain't begging for anything from you, which isn't what gets said, but it's what we're all thinking, right? Like, no, Phillip, we're not taking you little punts over the hunk that we have. Like, let's be real. So, but things don't go well there. So Jamie decides that he is going to entice Phillip into this. And this gets us to one of my favorite scenes. And I feel like they did so well with it. I'll talk to you about the parts I didn't like about it later. But in general, all this part was top notch for me. And that is Jamie asks Wiley to play a game of whist with him because he wants to try to win this association with him. And Jamie doesn't have enough money. And so Wiley, he had seen Claire's wedding rings, and he knows that one of them is very important to her, or they both are very important to her. So Jamie asks Claire if he can have them for the game, and he promises he'll get them back to her. And she's like, no, what if you lose them? And he's like, why does it matter? And so you have this like this little bit of a conflict of, you know, Jamie being like, why does this ring matter so much? And she's like, you know that I had this pried out of my throat by Bonnet, and you just want to like risk it on a game. And he's like, Claire, I wouldn't risk it. I'll get it back. And she's like, okay, well, if you're taking the gold ring, you're taking the silver one. And I love it. It's such a serious moment. And she asks him, she's like, whose honor is this for? And he says it's for Bree. And she's like, is it? Or is it for yours that Bonnet touched something that belonged to you? And dun, dun, dun. So then he goes off to play the game. And then we have the barn scene. Oh my God. Which I didn't know if they would do. But trust the show to pick one of the angriest sex scenes since the retribution one, or whatever that was called, the spanking scene. Trust them to pick the dirtiest, naughtiest sex scene since then to show. And of course it's not as dirty as it is in the book, but it was close, because I picked up my book and I was like, I don't remember him saying, watch me. And yes, he did. Oh God, Jamie Fraser, I love you so much. So I wrote, what the hell, angry sex time. I love it. So Jamie puts the rings back on and he's like, you're right, I did this for my pride, but we have to stop him. I'll do anything to stop him for what he did. And Claire's like, you're right, I know, we gotta do this. And so they've set up a meeting for him. And so we know that they're gonna try to meet each other. And everything's all good with our lovebirds. It's gonna be fine. And then we get an end scene. And as a few of the end scenes lately, this has Bonnet and Forbes in it, who we saw Forbes at the wedding, and then we see him meeting with Bonnet. And Bonnet, he's like elevated himself. He's dressing nicer, and he is a loose fucking cannon, guys. Like, I literally wrote that down. Bonnet is a loose cannon. The way that he just looks at them with crazy eyes, and Forbes is like, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Because he saw him, like, take those guys, like, that guy's eyes out with a knife, pretty much. And Forbes tells him that his son is the master of River Run right now. And so that was something that happened during the episode. Jocasta is signing over River Run, the place, to Jamie. So Jamie's going to be her heir. So the way that this works, and they don't fully explain this, so Duncan isn't marrying her for her money. He's marrying her to kind of be her steward, and to, like, take care of things for her, but to make sure, and she trusts him. Like, there's no weird thing happening between them. Duncan is he's a great guy. We haven't got to see that yet, but we know he's a good guy. But she's leaving River Run, the place, to Jamie, and then Duncan, he's going to be kind of the guardian of it until Jamie's old enough. But now Bonnet knows that River Run belongs to Jamie, and he believes that Jamie is his son because Bree told him that. So that is very interesting. I believe this is the stuff, I was talking with some of you down below, I believe this is supposed to be that maybe they're escalating some stuff with Bonnet that happens in book 6, they're bringing to book 5. However, we also didn't have Bonnet at the wedding. So one of the things that happens at the wedding, now we're going to talk about some book things that are different. Because this episode did really good with this. So Bonnet actually tries to get Jocasta to say where the gold is, because that's something we didn't talk about, but they believe that she's hiding some of that gold, and he knows that somehow. Guys, the Frenchman's gold, we will be dealing with it for a long time, but the show hasn't made as big of a deal of it as the book does, which is fine with me because I hate the Frenchman's gold. But it is kind of an important plot point in this one, because Bonnet comes in the middle of the night in the books and ties up Jocasta and tries to get her to tell where the gold is. And he threatens Duncan on their wedding night. He does this. And he actually escapes and steals Lucas and runs away. So Bonnet actually shows up at the wedding in the book and really makes his presence known, and is kind of being an idiot. Like, he's really dangling himself in front of everybody. And the reason why this is an even bigger deal is because in the books, Bree and Roger are at the wedding, and so Bonnet is in the same place as them for a while, and it really freaks everybody out a little bit. So the things of the book that did well here, the Jocasta gets married to Duncan. We see Jamie and Claire trying to track down Bonnet and kill him, and we see Roger earning the respect of people on the ridge. These things are all very consistent. I really like them. The episode overall I thought was so beautiful and well done, and the acting just like tore my heart out. I loved it so much. And we end it with Jamie needs to bring his men to Hillsborough, and we're going to have our first battle where Jamie has to fight on the side of the British. So I'm hoping this is the episode where we see him in his red coat, because I believe I said this in one of my first videos. I believe that when we saw a lot of the press for this, you know, when we were seeing the trailers, that they didn't have the further on episodes edited yet, because I'm really hoping that we get to see a lot of stuff that happens after that battle. But there was also a clip in this one where he isn't wearing the red coat, so I don't know. I don't know what this means, but he is he's the general, right? So he should be wearing the red coat if he leads that battle anyway. Because there is some very intense stuff still to come. We still have the episode that Sam and Rick said were their favorites, which each involve some serious stuff happening. One to Roger, one to Jamie, and I really hope we get those. I have a gut feeling about how the one with Jamie will play out, just from how they've been doing things. But I'm very excited. So all in all, this episode made me very happy. I think it kept up with the book pretty well, and it's setting up the important threads that we need. I'm not 100% sure what stuff they're pulling forward from book 6. I think I have an idea. I think it has to do with Bonnet being so actively interested in his kid, but I know that that happens in book 5 as well. Like, Bonnet has an interaction with them in that one as well. So I have no idea. I'm excited for all of it. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, this one made me a lot happier. Anyway, I was pretty sad after the last one because I had no idea what we were doing with that. I'm still upset that the ways Roger is winning people over aren't the ways he does it in the book. I really think it was kind of irresponsible of Jamie to have such a poor opinion of him and let people know what his poor opinion was and then leave Roger in charge. That isn't something Jamie Fraser would do, to try to like make Roger like earn it with them that way. There are other things Roger does that earn Jamie's trust, and I like those better. But that's really my only complaint from this episode. I think things are going in a good way. I thought the acting was great. I thought it was beautiful, and MVP of the episode, definitely Jocasta and Phillip Wylie were the best parts of this one for me. It was so good. And I love Claire and Jamie intimate times. I wrote down too, I didn't say this, I really liked a lot of the little things that Sam does that make him so like Jamie. Like, he signs left-handed. They're keeping that a thing, that like he needs to use his left hand for things. And then like when he's sitting at the table, just these little like hand twitches that he does, like just watch it. Like, when he talks with Phillip Wylie, he like has his hand down here and he's doing these like little hand things, and I just really love those details. Sam and Kat just play their parts so well. It's never their acting that is my problem with things. It's usually the words that they're asked to say, but this one was really good. Okay, I'm rambling. I loved it so much. This is one I can't wait to watch again. I've only felt that about 2 of the episodes so far this season, and that was the first episode. And then this one, I can't wait to watch this one again either. It's going to be great. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to check out all my Outlander content. I'm coming up with ideas already of things to continue after the season is over. I'll be starting reading An Echo in the Bone really soon, so you'll start seeing updates for that. Really excited to read that one. I've only read that one time, and I'm really excited for it. So thank you so much for watching. I put up new videos 3 to 4 times a week. Make sure to subscribe and like this video. It really helps my channel out. And have a wonderful day.